Fight on. Yeah, I've been waiting for this.
Welcome back to the Bottom of the Pit podcast, where we look to the moon and swap our palettes. I am, as per usual, Mick Whoopi Goldberg. And with me today, you saw him on the last episode, and we made you guys a promise to talk about a certain game, and here we are, fulfilling that promise and holding up his side of the bargain. We have the one, the only
Loboberry Crunch. What is going on, everybody?
Loboberry Crunch has joined me again. Double dash times two trouble, here to talk about DNF Duel, otherwise known as the Dungeon Fighters fighting game. So Loboberry Crunch, you stated on the last episode that you were already a previous fan of the, I guess it's the DFO is what it's called, Dungeon Fighters Online. You were already a fan before this game even showed its face. You knew all about it already. So just overall, before we get into details, how are you liking the game so far?
I'm going to be completely transparent. I'm actually very much enjoying the game.
You're enjoying it full force?
I think so. I'm still digging around, playing with other characters. I'm not going to lie to you. I jumped in and started playing as the archetypes that I played in DNFO. So Ghostblade was, you know what? I dig, I love Fighter. She's done. Is it Fighter or
Striker?
Striker.
I think Fighter is the class she's under.
Yeah, you're right. Nah, see, I'm showing my ignorance there. But
sorry, I just learned this stuff the other day doing research for this.
You know, it's funny because literally her sprite is like the sprite for the base Fighter, and that's what I found funny. That's funny. Yeah, it's not really much of a change, but yeah, she's so fun. Definitely brings back memories of playing the game years ago when I was playing it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I sneak online every once in a while still, but it's just there's so much that I haven't gotten a chance to jump into it all over again.
You talk about it like it's an old drug you used to do it. Somehow it keeps creeping back into your life.
Couldn't stop. Once I was in, I was addicted. The combos, the streaks, the dungeon crawling, and then the looting, man, the looting.
That's right. We'll take it one day at a time here.
Yeah, right. You got that DFO? You got that
the DFO, yeah.
But yeah, and then playing as Ghostblade, who also was another class from the Slayer character back in the day. It does, again, it's still that fun guilty pleasure that I had. I was like, man, I remember playing this character back when I was playing it on the 2D version. Oh man, it was so fun. I do have my interest peaked on some of the other characters. I definitely want to play the Crusader. I definitely want to check out one of the Gunner classes. Because I never played them back in the day either, so it's interesting to see. The only thing I just feel weird about is the main Gunner just basically looks like Dante from Devil May Cry with a cowboy hat.
The Ranger?
Ranger, there it is, yeah.
He's Cowboy Dante.
This is what it is. It's Cowboy Dante with long hair. You know, white hair, red suit, and two pistols. Yeah, you're you're not really helping your case. Damn. But I guess that's just I guess that's just the aesthetic for characters like him, you know.
I mean, it's a Class A aesthetic. And Ranger does look cool. I mean, I think Ranger looks cool. But he's the opposite of the kind of playstyle I enjoy, but he does look cool. Yeah, so, definitely. You said you were dealing with the Ranger and Striker. Were there anyone else you were interested in trying out or have tried out?
I played the Berserker, which was another Slayer class. Just because I do love heavy hitting characters. Okay. So history, I've loved playing when I played Guilty Gear. I did play Soul Bad Guy when I first started. I mean, I felt like everybody did at that point. There's like those judging me right now, judge all you want. But back in the day, there weren't that many characters, and Soul Bad Guy looked cool.
He did look cool, especially in the first Guilty Gear game. He was one of the cooler designs.
You know, with the rock you on the back of his shirt. Like, come on, bro. But I used to think it was something else. I thought he just straight said "F you."
Of course, dirty mind.
I think that would have been funnier, but yeah, I've been looking at him and I jumped on him a little bit. He's definitely fun. Very like aggressive, very much in your face style, hard hitter. You can definitely tell like he does not have a lot of health though. Like there's obviously the drawback is he's got the speed, he's got the hard hits, but you know once you catch him,
it's all over.
You better hope a combo gets dropped. Somebody whiffing something.
Yeah, well, Berserker, he treats his life like it's a meter. He can drain his own health to do a bunch of do stuff, enter his little install where he gets 2 swords. Right? He gets like 2 swords when he's in, like he does his little power up with his arm and stuff.
I didn't dig too far into him, so I can't say for sure.
I
played a little bit in the training mode with him. Interestingly enough, and I'm not gonna lie, this is obviously being my friend. You should know this too. You know, I'm not a big fan of grapplers. I'm not a fan of. I hate it. You know, but honestly, I'm kind of interested in playing the grappler. I was like, you know what? He does seem fun, and just I don't know. I played him a little bit in the tutorial, and just the satisfaction of just dunking somebody.
It is so satisfying.
It is, like, I think the last grapple character I played in a video game was Iron Tiger back in Blaze Blue days.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't play grapplers. But again, hold on. First off, to be fair, everybody loved playing Iron Tiger. There was just something fun about just grabbing homies up and just dunking on them.
Well, the way Tiger grabbed people, he just like grabbed you by your collar and just threw you 500 feet in the air just to start.
Right.
In like a second, he just whoop, up you went.
Yeah, it's just something extra satisfying about it. And I think that's what it is. It got like that weird satisfaction of like, huh, this is a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I can see why people like doing this. Don't get me wrong, I still don't like grapplers, but
you're not
willing to give a chance.
You're not even the first person I've heard or even spoken to who doesn't like grapplers, who like grappler in this game. Who just like, I don't know what it is about this grappler, but it makes me want to play this grappler in particular.
Yeah.
You think it maybe it's the aesthetic of it, or what? Do you think this game just has a way with its archetypes?
So it could be a mixture of both. I mean, Arc Systems, as we know, like I think that they've always just had this like satisfying feel in their games when you hit somebody or deal damage. Like it just feels good. Like, as weird as it sounds, like you don't feel the hit, but you kind of feel the hit. So I think for me, it's also visually pleasing because I mean the game is beautiful. Like the art style, everything about it just looks amazing. So I think that also helps.
Especially the Awakening specials, you know, the big moves.
Oh yeah,
those things are super cinematic. There's so much going on, especially the ones that have like beams and stuff and aren't just like a bunch of hits, like Inquisitors where she makes all the fire, or Crusaders where he calls on all the light and the lightning and stuff. That shit is so sick.
Yeah, Ghostblade so far is my favorite when he summons like the inner demon and does that giant slash attack. Oh man, it's so cool looking.
It is cool. That thing is hard.
Yeah, and I think that's what adds to it. I think that playing a game like this, I mean, obviously those visuals really play a part in like adding that satisfying feel to a completion in a combo. You know, even like back when we were talked about in the last podcast when we were talking about like with fighters, like the blasts, the attacks and everything. There's just a beautiful and satisfying look to them. Like even sometimes when we play, like I hate when I get caught by Cooler's freaking level 3, but I'll give it to him. That giant like sun in his hand attack is just awesome to watch.
Right, you can feel it too. It's so visually stunning. You can almost feel the heat coming off of moves like that in games like these. So
Yeah, it just feels nice. It feels nice.
So let's since we're already here, I want to talk to you about the characters overall. How would you rate the overall character design of this game? Are they, like ups, downs? You like it? You think they're kind of lazy or whack or whatever? Not saying I'm implying any of that. Just just throwing out things. How do you feel about the character designs? How they play, move, all that stuff?
So, if we're talking designs, I really do like them. Like going like obviously between like you can kind of see where some classes are kind of like where they are. The only small I think like nitpick I'll give it is the fact that you can like I said, like for example the Slayer class. The Slayer class had multiple different like paths that you could take, the archetypes. So like Ashura, which is basically Ghostblade, and then there's the Berserker class. You can clearly see that they basically came from the same character, and I think that is probably where my only nitpick will be. I kind of wish, because in the game you can customize your characters. You can give them different colors for their hair, you can buy different outfits for them and everything like that. So I kind of wish they did kind of like give them a little bit of a different look. But again, this is like their first real version of this game. But staying true to like the character's looks, I mean, Berserker looks amazing. He looks just like how he would in the old game's art style. Ghostblade looks really good. You know someone that I was really surprised to look at? Dragon Knight looks really cool. And I think that's what it is too. Like a lot of the characters just generally look cool. Swiftmaster looks really good. The Crusader looks really awesome.
The Crusader does look cool. And what I like a lot about these designs, and they do a great job at conveying who they are. You can kind of imagine their play styles by the way they look and the way they stand. Look at Crusader. Like you have this big 7-foot tall priest. He's stocky as hell. He's standing straight up, and you could see all that strength and power. And then you have someone like Dragon Knight, who's probably one of the second shortest characters in the game, perhaps, and given her stance, since she's much more hunched down than everyone else. And you when you look at her, she's got like a wide stance, but she's real low, and she's like real spunky looking. You can kind of guess by looking at her that she might want to be in the air a little bit more. She might be a little bit more mobile than especially the Crusader. You can kind of just tell with all the characters like that.
Yeah, I will say that the designs are awesome. And I think that's also another reason why I wouldn't mind playing around with the other characters. Generally just because they look cool. Enchantress looks really, really cool. Like some of these classes I don't remember. They could have been added like way after I played. When I first played, they only had, I think they only had like Gunner, the Gunner class, the Fighter class, the Slayer class, and then there was the Priest class, which basically is Crusader. And eventually they gave them the separate archetype paths that you could pick. So, seeing some of these ones, I'm like, man, I don't know half of these, but these are really cool. Like, I love the way they look.
Yeah.
Like Swiftmaster, I'm like, Swiftmaster looks like she looks cool.
I think Swiftmaster's a male.
Is it a male?
I think so.
I don't look. It's an anime.
It literally doesn't matter. I'm just saying it matters not. I see what you're saying though, and especially if when you first started playing DFO, if those were what you just mentioned before were the only classes, there's a ton more classes they've added since then. So
yeah, it's definitely cool, man.
And
I dig it.
And a big issue I kind of have with the character selection, because like I said, I did some research before this episode just so I kind of knew what I was talking about when it came to the characters. There are some whole classes that don't have any representation right now that I wish had more. I can't go into very specifics because it's hard to remember them all off the top of my head. But there are some I was like, oh, none of these guys showed up? That's weird.
Yeah, like, I would think, like, Weapons Master would have been in there, which is another subclass for the Slayer class. I think they basically picked, like, what was it, like, maybe 2 from each, like, subclass, and kind of just threw them in there. which I get. You don't want to oversaturate the game really with like every single class. I mean, obviously, we don't know if there's going to be like DLC. We don't know if this does very well. If we're going to get a DNF Duel, obviously, like I never fault a game for not adding too much yet, especially if it's like their first go around. You know what I mean?
I know,
So,
I feel that.
But I do feel like they kind of picked the classes that were easiest to kind of like draw people in. So obviously, like again, going back Slayer class, you got the Berserker, demonized, like full on, like I'm crazy looking, red bloody looking arm and crazy demonic powers that pop out. And then they got like on the other side, the flip side is the one that puppeteers the demon in a sense, kind of very much like Carl from Blaze Blue. I mean, well, that's more for Entrant. I would think Enchantress more has that, like, because she looks like she puppeteers. But
Right, we'll talk about that later.
But they kind of just pick like 2 of each one, and just said, okay, we're just gonna run with like 2 from each one, and that's it for now. So I could totally see them adding more later.
Yeah, I think going forward, it has to be stated that we are literally in the vanilla versions of this game, and it's no secret to anyone that the vanilla versions of games are very, very rarely the best versions. Excuse me. So these are very much just initial thoughts on the game. What are we on, week 1? Or yeah, this is week 1 or week 2? We're on this.
This is week 2, I believe.
All right, we're on week 2 of the game, so things will definitely change. But as of now, you think the character selection is acceptable? We have 16 characters to start.
I'm gonna be real with you. That's a lot more than I thought was originally going to be in the game.
You thought it was going to be less than 16?
Well, again, I'm running on older Dungeon Fighter information, so obviously, like, I'm going back to like just like maybe like at the most 8 to 9 characters. So when there was like 16, I'm like, you know what? That's not too bad. Okay. That's actually pretty decent. I feel like it's a good balance. I feel like there's enough representation for everybody's kind of fighting styles. So it's not like it's, there's literally someone event like around for everybody. So I think it's pretty good.
Okay, that's good to know, because a game like this, and similar with Grand Blue and even Marvel to the same extent, is kind of made by its roster. Like if they just picked some of the lamest classes and made that their roster, I feel like this game would have a little bit of trouble. But there is a wide variety of play styles in this game. Like you said, there's the grappler, is like a supercharged grappler from any other game. This is like the strongest grappler I've ever played. And you said you're trying out the Ranger. Ranger's like a hard zoner. And then you have Crusader and all of them. And they're so different from each other. You can't take one strategy and incorporate it to another character in this game, which is good.
Yeah.
Not every character is a mix-up character. Not every character is a rushdown character. Not every character is a zoner. There's some games that we've gotten to like a weird like singularity where in some games where all the like archetypes don't matter. Like archetypes don't mean anything. They'll just give any characters command grabs. They'll just give any characters best zoning while also being the best rushdown and stuff like that. So I very much enjoy that this game has dedicated archetypes that has to play like that archetype. There's no rushdown zoning here. There's no keep away rushdown. Yeah, exactly.
You talking about Street Fighter? Where everyone basically is basically a Shotokan character. Everybody has a Hadouken. Everybody has a Shoryuken. Everyone has a spinning kick.
So that's very much what I enjoy about this game, where you have to get it. Matchup knowledge is important in this game, because you have to know how to fight all these different varying archetypes. Because some characters are hard zoners, and you have the grappler, who's a hard, I'm not very good at getting in on zoners grappler in a game like this, which is why.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the characters' movesets? There's been a lot of contention about how there's a lot of these moves take up a lot of space on the screen. Big swiping attacks that hit in the air and the ground at the same time. They're so large. Do you like that bombasticness of it, or is it kind of making you wary of it?
So, all right. So this is where I'm going to give them like a little bit of a compliment, but then I'm kind of going to take a little bit of it back. The swipings and the attacks are very flashy, which definitely are very appealing to the eye. I really love the fact that they have like the mana pool, like, you know, they have like an actual like meter, like, because it's obviously every fighting game has their own like mechanic style for building meters and being able to do those super moves. So to be able to pop off a lot of the stronger, like, you know, base attacks that have like magic attached to them, that magic meter I think is a really cool idea, and I like that there's a cooldown for it, and there are other characters that can kind of like take advantage of like their health in the sense, just like we were talking about with Berserker, who can basically sacrifice health to actually gain like more abilities. So I think it's really cool. Now this is where I'm going to give the drawback. I do agree that some of the attacks are way too widescreen. For example, Ghostblade, you know, as much as I have fun playing with him, I will agree some of his attacks feel like they don't make sense for how far they go across the screen. Like, especially for the size of the character. His like one base like multi-slash attack where he basically like just slashes a bunch around him.
That kind of goes crazy.
Yeah, that kind of goes like all the way across the screen into like the other character, like into the other like opponent's like side of the screen. It very much reaches a little more than it should. So I will give it credit on that one. And I did fight a priest online, and just it definitely feels a little cheap with certain characters. I mean, granted, there could be the argument of, well, you know, you got to learn to adapt, you got to learn to dodge, move, block, and stuff like that, which is true. In any game, you should learn that stuff. But just that it kind of feels a little unfair, especially because there are some characters that don't have that wide range attack ability, and then when you come across a character that is like very much like, I can reach you from across the screen, you're gonna take this hit. It kind of like feels like it kind of corners you in a sense, if that makes
like you're cornered at all over, like you're cornered at every part of the screen.
Yeah, it's very much like you're just trying to find like that one small opening you have to be able to dive in for something. And I mean, there are not a lot of characters that have that rush ability that can like do that. Like, they're not rush characters. So, but yeah, like I said, that I'm gonna give them the compliment of saying like, I do like the flashiness, I do like the magic meter and stuff like that. Like, that all seems really, really great. But I will say, I think that we need to lessen the hitboxes, or at least like trim down how far certain attacks go, because it just feels like it's a little much more than it should be.
And I definitely agree. And I've been playing actually mostly Grappler this past week or so. So I feel it whenever I queue up in ranked and a ranger pops up. And I feel it especially when characters like the Inquisitor pop up, or Berserker. I actually don't fight that many Ghostblades, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm a diamond in the rough.
But I definitely feel it. It's when they're swinging, every attack they do hits about 50% of the screen on average, right? That's about average for their regular attacks. So it can be really hard to get in, especially if they're good and they're not very telegraphed. Sometimes they'll telegraph all their attacks and you can just counter or roll. But if they're pretty good, that's really hard to deal with. It's like a wall in front of you. Yeah. And my biggest concern, and I have a feeling that this might get fixed. I had no guarantees, and I'm not quite sure what their plans are for this game, since we don't know really, since they're not telling us yet. But my biggest issue with this game right now, as far as those big hits go, is the movement in this game feels like shit. To me, it feels like shit to move around in this game. Not so much fight, like hitting buttons and stuff, that's all good in the hood. But once you like have to start playing defensively, you got to start spacing yourself out. You have to start blocking because they took their turn, or you're just trying to get in and you have no real way to get in because all their hits are hitting pretty much in big giant arcs in front of them, either going vertically across the screen or horizontally. Vertically in front of them like a moon, or across the screen horizontally. I got that mixed up. And you end up just like sitting there and blocking, and you want to go in, but there's like some characters start up on their like runs. Some characters have like command flies, like, you know, Dragon Knight. But most characters have no way to get across the screen in a very safe manner. No air dashing, there's no air blocking. The roll, the dodge roll in this game feels so ugly. It feels gross doing the dodge roll. There's so much startup and there's so much end lag. And a lot of times I end up just getting clipped after I roll by a move that hadn't even turned around yet. And I end up getting comboed anyway. And so I just feel like those big hits are like not in themselves bad, because it seems like that's what they want. They want this game to be fucking crazy, and it is. But since the movement is so poor, in my opinion, it kind of just makes these big hits seem really annoying because you can't really get around them. You kind of just have to hold them. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm not really good at dodge rolling myself. You know, I know like I know that, like, for example, well, to me personally, Ghostblade AC has an ability where he can teleport behind the enemy. So to me, it's like, I guess I've been using that as kind of like my means to dodge more, because it's a startup for a combo. So, because he has like where he basically like teleports behind them and then he slashes them, and then you can like juggle slash them for like 2 or 3 more hits. So I see what you're saying though, because there does seem to feel like this seems like there's like this weird like stagnant movement sometimes, so it doesn't feel as smooth. And again, I guess maybe on my end I'm trying to be I'm trying to be fair, because again, the game is still relatively new.
Right, it's vanilla.
Yeah, like they definitely have a lot of work to still do to kind of bring this up to like the standard that like Guilty Gear has for its game, and Blaze Blue had for its game, and Fighters even for that matter had to its game. I mean, I feel like all those games started off in that same aspect where there was like little things here and there that kind of like people exploited, and you know, we could see like, yeah, this would be a problem later on. I mean, even you and me running tournaments and stuff like that with the other guys, you know, we could see this as a problem at an actual tournament.
Yeah, where they have some easy infinites running around right now.
Yeah, so it definitely feels like I feel like, you know, it's something that we'll probably end up seeing in like the first patch. Like, probably will get fixed up, or at least like lessened until they come out with like a bigger patch that says like, hey, here's the, you know, patch like, you know, 1.0 for DNF Duel to kind of fix a lot of those issues, because they'll probably fix it around then. And if they're going to do anything as far as like additional characters or like new stuff, they'll obviously probably announce it then.
And yeah, and you're absolutely right. So it's just how the game is now. I feel like the movement feels pretty muddy. It's like muddy movement mixed in with like really cool, bombastic, sharp attacks, and it makes for like a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. Sure, it is edible, but do you really want it?
That was a really, really, really gross analogy too.
That's how I feel when I dodge roll. I'm eating a mayonnaise and peanut butter sandwich.
I'm looking at my pudding cup on my table here, and I'm like, do I want to eat this now?
Now I want to talk to you about the overall aesthetics of the games. How do you feel about like the stages and the music? Do you think they're up to snuff? You like those?
It's very Arc System. It's very, very Arc System.
The stages, especially. Yeah,
they're very, very. Now, this is where I don't want to insult them when I say this. It's gonna sound a little mean, but it does. I will say that it kind of feels like a little copy and pasty from Guilty Gear, and that could just be because obviously with the last 2 Guilty Gear games that came out, they obviously very much upgraded the graphics, upgraded the stage looks and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe it's because that's just the style that they're going to be going for in their game specifically. So, I mean, that's possible that we'll probably see something like that in Blaze Blue as well. If there is a new Blaze Blue, please give us a new Blaze Blue. But anyway, as far as anything, I will say that I do like the music. Like, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I downloaded the soundtrack on my phone and I
Nice.
listened to it a little bit. They got some really, really good themes. I do love the overall looks for the stages. I think that the problem with me though is that it does very much look like a Guilty Gear stage. And I mean, they're kind of set in like similar universes, you know what I mean? It's, you know, they're very much like that, like crazy, like magical / like machine-like universe, you know, so I kind of can see why they look the same. I can't really say if there's anything they can do to fix that, but I'm not gonna say that they don't look beautiful. They do look beautiful.
And I don't know much about DFO, the actual game. I'm not like, since you've played it, is there other options they could have gone with for stages, do you think? Or you think because it kind of feels like they chose the easy things to make stages, like a bar, unkempt ruins, a fire level, like a volcano, you know. But I'm not sure if that's just how the game is. I don't have that knowledge. Like DFO players, like hardcore DFO players could be like, wow, they got all the stages in the game.
You're right, they could. I mean, I remember like there was obviously a forest stage, and there's like a cave, and then there is like a volcano with like a hellscape in the background. Like, you know, that stuff all is there. And then you have like your towns, then you have like your little villages and stuff. So I'm not saying that it doesn't look like they hit the points of what the looks of the areas look like, because they very much do. But at the same time, that's what I'm saying. Like it's weird because it's very, very similar like looks to like what like I would see like what Guilty Gear, like if Guilty Gear had like an animated series, I could see that it would look very much like what Dungeon Fighter is. And I think that's why Arc System was able to like kind of pick this up like the way they did, because I could see it's a very similar art style. It's just hard to say like, you know, specifically like, did they really try to make anything different? Because it's like, I mean, I feel like even if they did, it still very much looked kind of like the Guilty Gear style. And again, that could just be the way Arc System looks. I mean, not for nothing. Again, it still looks fantastic.
It still does look great. The stages, I think, ArcSys has, like, Blaze Blue has amazing stages. I think a lot of their stages are tight. Same with Guilty Gear. So they're just kind of good at making stages. But I guess I was looking for, I think the thing is, I don't know what I was looking for out of these stages because I don't know the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that.
So I'm like, is this like the boundaries of the creativity for these levels? A bar, a volcano, a forest? But maybe it is. Maybe that's the spirit of DFO, and I don't know it. I'm the one that's super ignorant to the series. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of. I mean, like I said, they hit it right off right off of what it should look like. I mean, again, this is kind of where the problem is because, okay, so I used to play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and I guess like if you were to picture like Dungeons and Dragons like as an actual video game, like and I know there's like there are games out there based like that, but I'm just saying like if you had to picture like a dungeon crawler or like a fighting game and stuff, DNF Duel does hit it out the park. It very much hits it. You know, very much like the same backgrounds and stuff like that we used to use for like our maps and stuff like that we used to put on the tables and stuff. Like it very much is right there. But again, that's where kind of like the line between both Guilty Gear and DNF Duel goes, because the Guilty Gear is very much basically another a D&D-esque like game.
Pretty much.
Like, those characters would look exactly the same. So it's kind of like, I can see why maybe it's hard for me to kind of go, they kind of look similar, because they do. To me, they do. They look very similar. But I guess the benefit that Guilty Gear has is that they have more like machine like aesthetics, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it's very like industrial.
Yeah, very industrial, very what's the very Trigun, like the Trigun world. If you ever seen the anime Trigun, that very much feel of that world, because it's very like desolate, and you know, it's very like you said, like very like mechanical in the backgrounds and stuff. Because I know like the what do they call them? They call the gears, as they call them, like they're like kind of like robotic like demon monsters that they actually fight. Which is funny because I'm like, it astounds me all the time that I think about it. I'm like, man, I never really dug into the lore of Guilty Gear as much as I did before we had that conversation on the last podcast. I was like, oh yeah, there's a whole world.
Like,
there's a whole thing that it's crazy. But I mean, let's be real here. Not a lot of us pay attention to like the lores as much. I feel like Mortal Kombat's like the one that I think you and me paid attention to the most.
Yeah, when it comes to fighting game lore, because a lot of times fighting games, they'll just start retconning shit to keep the story going. And eventually just becomes super hard to follow what's real anymore, what's not real anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's really hard. I mean, some fighting games, their fucking lore is just so all over the place. It's so confusing.
Or they're so in depth, like Guilty Gear, where every game I feel like has a glossary of the lore of the game that you can flick through in alphabetical order.
That's true. At least you're not throwing each other off of cliffs.
That's true. So have you played online any this past week or so?
I had one fight online.
Okay, one fight.
And I got my tushy handed to me.
I'm sorry, bro.
It's okay. You know what? I expected it. I went online with I actually went online with Striker.
With Striker first, okay.
Yeah, and you know, first match I felt like okay. Like, I'm not gonna say it was great, but I definitely feel like I don't. It's gonna make me sound like I'm complaining about the online already, but the online for me, and I think this is me being spoiled from like playing like fighters and stuff like that. It doesn't feel as smooth yet to me. It definitely feels, and I think that could be from like we were conversating about like the movement. It doesn't feel as smooth yet. If I'm playing against like the computer, or I'm playing maybe even against like you or one of the guys, that's a different story. It'll probably feel a little bit more like authentic. But I will say I did not have a good experience online. I felt like I had a great start, and then kind of
petered off
slowly. Yeah, I got demolished by a berserker.
Damn, yeah. Once berserker gets going, it's really hard to get him to stop.
Oh man, that hurt. And then like I did have a follow-up match, and it was against the grappler, and it was kind of slightly back and forthy. But I knew, I was like, I am not playing as up to par as I could. I don't know, something feels weird. So I just hopped offline. I usually don't like playing these games online until at least until the first patch comes out. If I'm playing like for friends, that's a different story. I'll jump online for that. But if I'm like doing ranked matches and stuff like that, I absolutely won't do it.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I've been playing a lot of online on this game, and what I can say is, while I do have several major glaring issues with the game that I'll eventually get into this episode, one of those issues actually is not the online for me. Every connection has been great. No, that's a lie. There was like one or two connections that felt like they were like jiggling the cord. You know, the connections where the whole fight, if they're beating you up and pressuring you, it's all gravy, and then as soon as you open up for a combo, it starts to lag and stuff and skip around, and you drop it, and then it goes back to normal once they're doing their stuff again. That kind of stuff. That could be like desync issues.
Yeah.
But aside from that one or two fights, every connection has felt buttery smooth. I find matches in a second. I think the only complaint I have about that is there's no like audio cue when you get connected. So there would be times where I'm like preoccupied with something, petting Gary or something, or scrolling through something, and I won't know someone's waiting for me to hit accept because it popped up on the screen, but I wasn't looking at the screen. And I think Guilty Gear did the same. No, Fighters had the same problem, and they ended up patching in a notification sound for it. So I have a strong suspicion that's what's going to happen this time around too.
No, I can agree with you. Like I said, it could have. I only had 2 online matches.
Right, just
really.
2.
So
small sample size.
I can't say like it was like a very like big thing. Again, I don't like like doing online matches until like there's an actual like patch out that kind of fixes a lot of these things. Because as weird as it sounds, I'm gonna sound like a little baby when I say this. I hate it because I already know that everyone's gonna jump online. They're gonna find all these exploits and they're just gonna exploit the crap out of it until it gets patched.
Yeah.
And I don't want the win-loss record for mine to be that bad. So I just go, you know what? Like I didn't play Fighters online officially until probably I want to say it was like maybe like the first patch. I think that the only game I've ever jumped online right away and played online, if I really am honest about it, was probably Marvel vs. Capcom.
No, it's just out of
Yeah,
excitement.
the last Infinite.
And
that was just out of excitement.
and also
but,
with nothing to do offline with that game. That's another issue
Yeah, right.
that game had.
What do you mean? The story mode was...
I forgot about the story mode.
It was bad. It was bad.
Oh yeah. I didn't hop on until maybe 4 or 5 days after I got the game. I never hop on immediately either because I'm a slow learner. So I had to put in a couple of days to understand like basic things about the game, and then I start to grow exponentially once I get those things down. But building the foundation takes a while for me to do, especially in a game with the flow like DNF. I never played a game that was both Marvel-esque as well as like Mortal Kombat-esque. It's like Mortal Kombat movement, like Mortal Kombat 11 movement in a Marvel fighting game, with some characters that are from Marvel and other characters that are from Mortal Kombat as far as their gameplay goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point I fought every character at least one time. And I can tell you that right now, the characters that are being complained about right now have definitely a right to be complained about, because it feels like they're playing a different game from the rest of us. Characters like Swift Knight, I feel like is not a Swift Knight. Oh my god, Swift Master. I fight a lot of Swift Master, and I'm like, why are you allowed to do these things? But the only person who comes close to the kind of stuff that Swift Master can do is Dragon Knight, I guess, and that's just because she has like a flight mechanic and she can do all these crazy high-low mix-ups. Swift Master is just high-low mix-ups. He can put the tornadoes around his body to nullify projectiles, and it can touch you with those same tornadoes and do damage, and then put a bunch of tornadoes on top of you, and he can fly, and he can put a little wind orb that draws you in, and then he can also draw you in, and he's got like 8-way dashes, and he's got a crazy 4 dashes, and it just feels like things were not divvied up evenly amongst the cast with how strong their tools are for the archetype that they are. You know what I mean?
I could see that. I see exactly what you're saying. I haven't had to fight a Swift Master myself yet, obviously, because like I said, I've just been doing training mode and like doing stuff like that. So I've also been just doing like offline fights. So I haven't had any real like complaints about anybody yet.
Okay.
But I could definitely see, like, I've been watching videos. I've seen like some stuff. So I've seen like, I will say that I haven't seen as much on Swiftmaster and some of the stuff that I've encountered, but I can see, like, I mean, I take your word for it, obviously, because I trust, your experience in this stuff. So I could totally see what you're saying. That it could definitely feel like, I mean, it's a very vanilla we're very, very early in this game. We're still like this second weekend, and we're really kind of seeing the game kind of more come out. So it's one of those things that I feel like we should revisit eventually, like maybe like a month or maybe after the first patch.
Yeah.
To see like how it's doing after that.
I definitely agree. There should be like a follow-up review, like a part 2 it is.
Because y'all want to hear us talk about more Arc systems?
because from my experience online, and I'm telling you, I've played over 100 games at this point, and I just started going online like Thursday or Friday of about Thursday or Friday. I think I started going offline and like fighting other people that weren't Bonsai Wolfburger and the Jamaican Shake. Those are the only 2 I fought, and then I went online and had over 100 games. And what it did, fighting online on this game, was reaffirm a few things about fighting games as a whole. Like, because you experience certain things in fighting games for so long, it becomes less of a feature and more of just like a rule, of like a law. And a big one that I've noticed playing this game for sure is some characters are not meant to have a DP. Some characters are not meant to have a Dragon Punch for balance sake. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I 100% see that, yeah.
And I had this thought when I was fighting online as grappler against a ranger. Now, I played grapplers for a very long time. I'm no stranger to the walk block that grapplers have to do against hard zoners like Ranger. But the reward for getting in on hard zoners like Ranger normally is, I get to beat you up now. Now it's my turn to play. Sorry, buddy, you shouldn't have let me get this close.
I'm sorry. I just had like a whole like Macho Man Randy Savage from like the first Spider-Man movie scene where he's just like, I got you for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
3 minutes of playtime.
When you get in. However, this game, and this goes for actually every zoner in the game, said, you know what a zoner needs? A Dragon Punch. So what is your reward for getting in on one of the many hard zoners in this game? You start your pressure and then get DP'd back to full screen. That's your reward. That's your reward for all your hard work. That's not allowed, bro.
Yeah, I can see that would hurt.
That's something NetherRealm would do. Now, NetherRealm games don't usually actually have DPs, but that's some NetherRealm shit.
It really is. Actually, you're not.
That's how NetherRealm treats their zoners.
Oh my god.
That's not how ArcSys treats their zoners, though. There's hard zoners are hard zoners, and then once, like, look at Axel from Guild to Gear. What are his tools once you get in on him? All of his moves have slow startup. He's low damage. He has no reversals because he's a zoner. If you got in, then he failed. You didn't play the game right, and you deserve the punishment that you get. You don't get a get out of jail free card with a DP when you're a zoner. No. That's just not how it goes. And then you have characters like Dragon Knight, right? Who mix monsters, flight cancels, all that fun stuff. Big, giant air projectile that goes in a diagonal Akuma arc. Why did you give your super mix-up character a big, giant fireball that hits on a diagonal like Akuma? And she has a little dragon that can zone for her that doesn't disappear when Dragon Knight gets hit. You have to hit the dragon. And you have all that, which, that's fine. That's the character, right? That's cool. But then they gave her a DP just in case she gets in trouble. And that's what I don't like that one bit. I don't like the universal invincible startup DP. And I don't like it at this point for one reason. And that's, some characters don't have that. That's down and X, right? That's down, I guess down S to, I guess 2S, I guess skill. MP move, whatever.
Yeah.
About 80% of the cast has a DP. Invincible startup, get the fuck off of me. Right? And they're all different. Some are better than others, but at the end of the day, they're invincible startup DPs. But some characters like the Grappler and the Lost Warrior and Ghostblade don't have DPs. Ghostblade has a teleport, and Grappler and Lost Warrior has the counter. Now, what's the problem with that? You might be wondering, why is that an issue? Counters are like DPs. You got to respect the wake up counter because that could be counter for games sometimes, for sure. The problem is these counters don't seem to start up frame 1 like the DPs do. They're not invincible on startup. You can get poked out of a counter. I have been poked out of a counter. And on top of that, and the most egregious thing of all, when it comes to these counters, is they don't have lower body invincibility whatsoever. So you want to wake up counter, even if your opponent throws out a slow move, if that thing hits you low, it's going to get through. And with so many low attacks here hitting from about half screen, maybe a little bit closer than that, you have counters that hit that far. I'm sorry, not counters. You have low attacks that hit that far. You're going to get clipped out of your counter like it's nothing.
And you know what's funny that you brought that up? Like when I was actually in the training modes, half of the combos that they kind of teach you are all like low startups. Like they all start from low poking. And like we were discussing earlier, there are some characters that have like a ridiculous range across the screen anyway. So no, I could see where that's a problem, 100%.
Yeah, and that's my issue. And I fought a striker earlier today, right, as Grappler. And the thing with Grappler is a lot of his techniques have armor on them, especially his circle moves. A lot of them have armor on it, and they're good if you can connect them, and they have armor. I think they can take 3 hits before it gets through. However, all of his armored attacks are vulnerable to low attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
when
what the game teaches you.
So when you think about that, right? You have this Grappler in a game where everyone is swinging half screen, just casually swinging their attacks half screen. You give this character, he has armor, he can get through it. Okay, why didn't you give him full invincibility on his body during his counter then, or during his armored attacks then, so he can get in? You do that and he gets in, for sure, and it becomes a mind game. But I fought this striker, and what I'm trying to approach, she's just fishing for the slide kick because it gets through all of my armor and it gets through all of my counters because it just completely vulnerable to low attacks. And I don't have a DP to stop any pressure. So it's like, give everyone the DP or don't give the entire cast the DP. You have to balance around the DP, is what I'm saying. And it's my biggest gripe right now.
No, I think the gripes you have right now are absolutely like right on the mark. Because I didn't like when you started talking about that more, I'm like, I started going back on like some of my training like things with certain characters, and I was like, they really did kind of like show off like, hey, start most of your combos with low attacks. And I'm sitting there thinking about it more and more. I'm like, yeah, that's Ghostblade. Ghostblade definitely has like all low. He has a lot of low starting hits. Like they all start as like crouching hits. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, he's got a point there.
Yeah, trust me, I've been, and another big issue I have with online play, and has nothing to do with the quality of the online itself, more the players, is that this game, more than any other I've encountered, I've had to deal with more win quitters in this game, where your opponent, they'll win a game and then quit and not do the run back. You know, every fight is best 2 out of 3. I'm getting sick and tired of fighting games given in ranked, given the option to quit after the first game. You should be required to run the fucking set.
No, 100% agreed.
But this is not, as far as the online goes, this is not the worst online experience I've ever had. I like how there's no counter picking, right? You choose your character before you even queue up, which is good, which I think every fighting game needs to adopt. For the most part, they do, I guess. The online feels good. It's nothing special, I guess, technically. Unless you like doing shit in like lobbies and stuff for like the player matches, but the ranked match is literally just hit ranked. It starts looking for a person and you just sit and wait, which is perfect. No tiny lobbies like Strive, where you have to hope that there's people online because each lobby only holds like 30 people or something weird like that. So the online is good. I have no issues with online, and what I can say definitely about this game is that it is addicting to play. This game pisses me off a lot, and I still queue up for another game.
You got the DFO? You got the DFO?
You got that DFO, yeah. So this game is fun if you, from my experience right now, my overall experience, this game is very fun if you pick the right character.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I can see as like, for me, like being a fan of the original game, I think that's why I'm like, I don't want to say like I'm giving it passes, because I am very much like, there's a lot of things I want them to fix, but I more want them to fix it so that way I can enjoy the game more. Like I truly want this game to succeed. I want to see this game go further. I would love to see this game get a couple seasons out of it, you know what I mean? You know, like I really do want it to do well.
Me too.
And you know, obviously, like there are other projects that kind of teeter on this stuff. Like, what if DNF Duel does so well that they're like, okay, cool, let's continue this train of like, you know, Arc System games, and what's the next game they're gonna pump out? I'm hoping and praying that maybe we'll get a Blaze Blue out of all this too, because obviously this will be Blaze Blue's first like real like attempt at like a next gen system game, you know what I mean? And it'll be joining in around the time that we're like moving more into that like PS5, Xbox Series X, and like more PC like gaming like generation. So because I mean, I know that Chronoplasm came out for PS4 and Xbox, I believe.
Let's say a Central Fiction.
No, was it Central Fiction or was it Chrono? I thought it was
Central Fiction's the newest one.
Yeah, but it's still not that new.
No, yeah. It's still like 10 years old or something.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, this will be like their first, like, being able to leap into that, like, that guilt, that new age of, like, how Guilty Gear, like, obviously, like, not the last Guilty Gear, but the one before, the one we just had, before Strive.
Rep 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like their first real, like, okay, now we're jumping into this whole new like aesthetic and generation, and you know we're gonna build these mechanics and stuff, and obviously like Guilty Gear is still rocking hard with that. I want to see DNF Duel do well, so that we can see Blaze Blue get like a revival and go, okay, now we're bringing back Blaze Blue, you know, or maybe even crazier, we might get like some kind of mix up cross battle, you know.
Yeah, and that was an idea you talked about not yesterday, last episode.
It could have been yesterday if they tuned in to yesterday's episode, which you 100% should still do. Check it out on Bottom of the Podcast, you know.
You heard it from Lobo. Spotify, Google, Apple. It's on every site.
It's on every site. You have no excuse. We're everywhere.
It's YouTube now. We're back on YouTube as well.
YouTube, you hear this? YouTube, and if you got YouTube Premium, there's no commercials. Like, what are you doing?
No commercials. What are you even doing? What are you even doing?
Get on there. But
so I take it you haven't opened up the conversion system or anything.
No, not yet.
Me neither. I have. I feel, and that is another issue I have. At first, it felt like there was a lot of potential for the conversion system. And watching tournaments, there definitely is. There are things you can do with the conversion system, but it's different from like having a meter system. You know what I mean? Because it's something that can go away fast, since you have to use your white health, and that regenerates, or you lose it. So it's not something you always have. It almost feels random, the chances that you have to use the conversion system. How do you feel?
You're talking about when you can churn like your white health into magic, right?
Yes, and it'll like reset your stance and stuff to let you continue combos and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not using that right now. Like, I'm not that good yet. Give me a month, maybe I'll play with it a little more. But no, I think it's a cool system.
I think it's a cool system as well. Not saying it's bad or anything.
Yeah, like it's definitely something like once you've gotten like maybe the handle of the game and the rest of the mechanics, I could see that. Like it's kind of like how like when Street Fighter introduced the freaking focus attacks. Like you could basically like eat a hit, and you know you would take that like potential damage, but obviously you could like you could kind of recover that back, or you get punished and you take a lot more of a hit. But I think it's cool, and it could like lead to a lot of really interesting like mix-ups and like different styles kind of evolving from that, which is really cool. Kind of bring out the potential of each character a lot more. But I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not there either. So I can't talk much on it. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I do like it, and I think it opens up a lot of stuff. But I think, like a lot of things in this game, it just needs a little bit more fine tuning. Just a little bit, maybe. I don't know, because you can either. It's hard to balance, I guess. Because how do you fix it if you don't get to use it enough? You make white health go up slower. That's just an overall nerf to the whole game.
Yeah.
You maybe make it give more MP at a lower white health rate, so you don't need as much white health to get a good amount of MP. That's something they could do, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that it's like I said, but like we said, I think it's a cool idea, because obviously every game usually has like its own little like mechanic that like kind of helps it stand out a little bit. And like, you know, like for Street Fighter, when they introduced the focus attacks, obviously that changed the game up heavily.
Big time.
You know, and I feel like this is their like version of like the focus attack system. So, what was it? Mortal Kombat added the X-ray attacks, where you like literally breaking bones and nonsense like that. Which I'm still like, you breaking people's bones, but they're still getting up and fighting you.
Hell yeah, brother.
Like I get it, right? Or that's the thing, you ride or you die.
Ride and die, baby. Ride and die.
Ride and die all the time. Haha, jokes, because half of those characters are Revenants anyway.
Got them.
But yeah, like I think it's a really cool mechanic that I think that if they refine it the right way, along with the MP system, I think that it could definitely be like it's a good like this is their system. This is their version, their flavor in this game.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Now, how do you feel about the MP system?
I like it. I won't deny that. I do like it. I think that it makes me think more, if it makes it any sense. Like, I'll put it to you this way. When you play, like, any type of, like, dungeon crawler, or, like, even like a role-playing game, what's one of the things you want to be careful about and conscious about? Your skill points, your magic, how much of this stuff you have. Because if you just spam through all of it, guess what happens? You're left with nothing. And then now you're just relying on, like, you know, swinging in defenses and hoping that you're going to be able to, like, get through it.
Right, and things your character might not be any good at. Yeah,
so, you know, and the thing is, like, obviously certain characters will rely on that MP system more than others. I feel like Fighter doesn't, like, you know, I mean, I keep saying Fighter because that's the character's class. Striker has, like, a different need for it than a character like Swiftmaster, for example, like, you know, or a character like Ghostblade, like more of those characters that clearly do rely on the more magical abilities rather than actual physical abilities. So you see, like, the costs seem like they're a little different, but at the same time, if you waste it, you pay for that. You see that you pay for it. So I do like it. I think it's fun. I think it brings a whole new like thought process of like, okay, cool. I don't want to spend it all. And again, that could just be me thinking of like how I am with like when I play like any type of like role playing games or anything like that, Persona, Final Fantasy, and things like that. You don't want to blow through that shit, because you blow through it, and guess what happens? You're swinging for the fences at this point, and you're trying to build back up so that way you can start back up again.
And yeah, that's a pretty insightful observation of the whole thing. So, would you say it was a pretty good adaptation of how it is?
Yeah, I think that it makes it more feel like, especially for the fans from the games, it kind of makes you feel like you're playing the same game, just in a different format. So, because it's the same thing in the game, like you have a mana meter, and if you blow through it, you might be running the rest of that dungeon without any mana.
Oh damn!
And
when
you get hard? Depending on the level of difficulty you're playing through, yes, unless you have like potions and stuff like that, or like you kill a creature and you were able to pick something up that kind of restores your mana. You could blow through your mana like on the first like not boss room, but like the first like room that you enter, and there's still like 10 more rooms to go through.
My God, I didn't realize it was hardcore like that.
It can be, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I like the idea, and the funny thing is playing a game like, and I'm gonna throw this completely left field, is playing like Persona 5. Like they basically taught me to not be a skill spamming like maniac. Like, don't just use all your special moves all in one shot, because guess what happens? You're running in that area and running into that palace or dungeon or whatever it is, and you spam that crap all over the place. You run into a harder fight and you have nothing to recover it with. Guess what? You are going to have either a very difficult fight that's going to last a very long time, or you're basically screwed.
And
because
it does kind of carry over.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It does kind of carry over in that sense when you how you describe that. In like a fighting game, not as extreme. You're not going the whole set without any more mana. But if you blow all your mana at one time, and you're not using it wisely, yeah, you will get caught out with no meter by the enemy. Yep.
And you end up on the defensive a lot more in that match, hoping to build back up so that when you can kind of jump back in, or if you got someone that knows what they're doing, they're going to take advantage of the fact is that you are dry right now, and they're going to go in.
The smart players do. They know when, because when you don't have any meter, you don't have access to that DP, right? So That's when you can start the pressure if you want it, and then they'll blow it again as soon as you get like 1 meter to get do that DP.
Yeah, 100%. It's like funny thing, like playing fighters actually really taught me that too, because obviously like the more meter that I kept burning through, the more I was like, oh shoot, I blew through all my meter. I can't use anything. I'm basically relying on vanilla combos at this point. Just straight up punch, kick, punch, kick. Hoping just to build stuff up, calling assists in, just relying on the assists, like, please help me. Oh wait, I blew through all my assists. I'm screwed.
Yeah, in this game, resource management is very, very important. What I can say is the guard meter hasn't come into play as often as I thought it would. I expected to be getting guard broken all the time and things like that, because you have a guard meter, and some of these block strings, they last a long ass time, bro. Like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and that's an eternity in like fighting game years. 15 seconds of just down blocking in the corner. But even with that, the guard gauge doesn't go down that far, and it goes back up pretty fast.
Can I make one complaint about that?
Yeah, go for it.
I hate the fact that I have to hold a button to guard.
I mean, you don't have to hold a button. You can hold back.
I know you can, but I kind of the game like in the tutorials make you condition that you actually have to hold the button, and I'm kind of like, are y'all really? Are you teaching me I have to hold a button to guard? I don't want to do that.
I need to start holding it more. There are some mix-ups that are completely null and void with the block button. I need to really get on that.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why a lot of things that I complain about aren't things that open me up. I'm not like, oh, I don't like that Dragon Knight's got high-low mix-ups, fly cancels and shit. I just feel like I don't have, like objectively, I don't have the options to deal with those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's very weak defense in this game.
Yeah.
Which could also be, like, by design. They want you to throw shit in there. They want you to, like, throw caution to the wind. Throw out that big-ass attack that takes 80 meters. Maybe it'll hit them. Just go for it. Fucking do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. This game is very, just do it. Just throw out the wheel as Inquisitor. Fuck yeah. Put that wall behind them as Crusader. Do that shit. Use your install with Berserker and swing with both swords. Yeah. Rock the house with that. That's do the craziest shit this character can do. That's what we want you to do. Footsies, fuck that. You need to go fucking hit circle with Ghostblade and he'll swing like 6 times. This game's power level is massive. Every character in this game, almost every character in this game is the most optimal, the most powerful, the most cracked out version of an archetype. Like when you look at Launcher. Launcher has one move that's not a projectile. And that's her DP. Oh, she has a DP and she has a slide attack. So out of all of her attacks, even her normals, even her basic squares and triangles are all projectiles. Think of Frieza. She's almost just like Frieza in this game.
You talking about Frieza?
I'm talking about Frieza, baby. I'm talking about Freezer. She's like Freezer in this game. All of her attacks are projectiles. And so I lost my train of thought.
So what you're saying is I need to play Launcher then?
If you like Frieza, maybe Launcher is what you're getting at. But
I did like Frieza. I did. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person. I apologize.
But like that's like one of the purest zoners I've ever seen since that was actually built to be a straight zoner. Maybe ever. Maybe ever. Ranger, Launcher, even Enchantress is kind of a zoner. Like not kind of, like that's her archetype is the zoner.
Yeah.
So are you turned off at all by the sheer strength of this cast?
I'm gonna say no, only because, like you said, like it's kind of addicting. It's kind of like I just want to see how far I can go with each one that I do decide to play as, because it just looks fun, and I think that's the thing that pulls me in. It just generally looks fun. It makes me like want to go, hey, I want to play that, and I want to see how that goes. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that I like I said, I do agree that there's a lot of balancing that's gonna need to be done. There's a lot of cleanups to do, and we're still obviously like not even through its like full, month release yet. So we're definitely gonna be seeing a lot of things come out, like maybe like patch notes and stuff like that. They're gonna come up for like the new ones, but I don't think so. I think I'm still in this. I still want to play it. Funny enough, talking about it more and more, I kind of want to. As soon as we hop off, I'm probably gonna go play it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot of shit on this game. I'm not quite done yet.
He says he's talking shit.
But I do like the game. I'm not saying I don't like the game, even though I have said in my house by myself out loud that I hate this game. That was in the moment. I was upset. At the end of the day, I do like this game. And seeing what they're doing with Guilty Gear Strive compared to when vanilla Guilty Gear Strive was out compared to now, if they take a similar route where it's pretty subdued. Now, subdued isn't the right exact term to call DNF because it's anything but subdued. But as far as the flow and possibilities are, it really is not like sky high right now. But neither was Guilty Gear Strive at first, and then they slowly introduced things like in Guilty Gear they introduced new Gatlings, like new combo routes you can do, and then they added dash cancels and things like that, and they just added new moves to some characters, new properties like wall bounces and ground bounces and guard crushes to certain things that weren't there to get the flow they were looking for. And if this game has a very sturdy foundation for those kind of possibilities. So I want to ask you this, with that being said, going into the future of this game, what are some things that you hope they bring forth? What kind of maybe health patches, or what kind of overall changes to the gameplay, or whatever? What are you looking forward to?
Give the characters actual fucking names.
You don't.
I'm kidding.
I'll say wait a minute. I'm confused now.
That's just a joke. Just because the fact is, like, we keep calling them by like launcher and striker and grapple, but give the character an actual name. That's not their name. If their parents are naming them these names, there's some problems here.
Right. Poor kid.
What's your name? My parents named me Crusader. I was born with that name. I want to see. I definitely want to see these like these half-screen moves get fixed. I want that fixed. That has to get done. Make it a little more fair. The Dragon Punch thing, either make it. I don't want to say make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense. Not everyone does the Dragon Punch.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they would actually go about fixing the whole Dragon Punch thing. And for all I know, I'm literally the only person with the issue. I have no idea.
No, I feel like maybe I didn't realize it. I feel like I had the same issue, but I don't think, like, maybe I just didn't understand. Maybe I just didn't like think about it. I mean, I guess that's supposed to be like, you know how like Arc System has like their little like burst thing where like you could break out of a combo.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I guess maybe that was like them trying to add that in there, which is fine. Because I know like in Blaze Blue you had the like the thing where you like you pressed all the buttons or something like that, and then like you had like a full on like hey, get off me type move.
Yeah, it was like a
it was like a burst of energy or something like that.
Yeah, it's called burst.
Yeah, burst, there it is. But yeah, that, and obviously Guilty Gear has like the same thing. So I guess maybe they were trying to still continue with that flavor, but like not do the same thing. But I kind of feel like you might as well have done the same thing, because I feel like the Dragon Punch thing is a little overdone then. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's a good point, because they do have like long block strings, and maybe that was their intention with it. Since the game doesn't have a burst, it desperately needs a burst.
Well, just put a burst in. That's all I would say.
Just put a burst in.
Yeah, just put the burst in. You know, give the characters that, rather than the Dragon Punch thing, because I feel like that's definitely gonna be something that's gonna get annoying later on. Like I feel like I'm gonna guarantee you, like watch like I'm gonna go all play and be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna hop online and I'm gonna see exactly that happening over and over, and I'm like, okay, I can see now why this is annoying.
Yeah, and that could be it. Since you say you don't have a lot of online experience, like I didn't think about it either until I was dealing with these online assholes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
being one of them.
I'm an asshole too. It's okay. I guess that's kind of. I mean, obviously, I feel like everything we've talked about are like valid points to it. You know, fix the full screen moves, fix the whole like Dragon Punch thing. I mean, that's kind of all I got. I mean, I feel like the game is still in its infancy enough that we're gonna still like play it and go through it, and I mean, we'll probably find stuff more here and there as we continue on. You know, there'll probably like a little more things, but also like, you know, obviously like it's one of those things that we have to see what they like. Are they going to continue to take this game seriously? Maybe that's more what I'm trying to put out here.
And that's a fair point.
Because I mean, we've seen games like start up and then get dropped like the month after they started up.
It's happened. It's definitely happened in the past for sure.
Yeah, and we're obviously in this weird time right now with gaming as a whole, where there's, I mean, coming up like what was I talking about? I was talking to, actually, I think it was either Keeb or my buddy Tato, and we were talking about how going into October and like the late fall, in the Christmas season, there are a lot of games coming out. So for something like this, which clearly is going to have to be more like, if it wants to continue to get the same support and stuff, it's going to need to continue to evolve. Which means that these devs got to pay attention, read the complaints, read the wish lists for the people, and kind of like keep it going, because let's be real here, all it's going to take is like 2 big titles coming out that's going to draw everyone's attention, and this game could easily be dropped once people feel like, oh, there's nothing happening more with it. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun game. It has a lot of potential, especially with Arc System. This could be like another one to put in their library. I mean, I feel like of all the companies right now, Arc System's just, again, like we were saying the last one, they're rocking it. I remember when Capcom had it back in the day, but I feel like right now this is Arc System's time. Capcom's kind of fallen off when it comes to the fighting game world.
Street Fighter 5 did not do them any favors, that's for sure.
I mean, Street Fighter 5, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, like, their big fighting game titles kind of very much let them down. And this is a company that they were the juggernaut. They were like the standard of like fighting games, with all the random ones that they were coming out with. X-Men, the X-Men Children of the Atom, and X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel superheroes, and the NBCs and the Street Fighters, and then all the crossovers with all that stuff. Like, they ran that shit. I feel like right now, Arc Systems has like very much like that world of like, we can continue on and have like our own catalog, similar to what Capcom had years ago. But as long as we continue to do it right, we could have this go on and just run this like genre for a while. And I would love to see that. I would love to see one day. I think we were talking about it last stream too. I mean, last stream or podcast. I'm sorry, I say stream. Last podcast too, when we were saying that, if we really look at it, if they play their cards right, we could see Arc System basically running the tournament scene for a while, because they have Guilty Gear, then they got, they could have DNF Duel, and then they can have, if they revive Blaze Blue, they got Blaze Blue. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what else they could have? Then Fighters is still going. Like, the game pretty much is like done as far as new additions, but they're still running things.
It's true. It's the tournaments. They just released a new patch the other week or so ago.
Dude, when we had our last tournament, I was pleasantly surprised at how many people still signed up for Fighters.
Fighters will always be at least fun in a local setting, because their online is pretty bad because they have delay-based netcode, but offline is still pretty damn cool.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine like going to like a tournament and just seeing the top 4 like fighting games are all Arc System games?
I mean, that is a possible future, even though Street Fighter 6 is around the corner. Maybe in the future, ArcSys is holding it down right now, and Street Fighter held it down before. Maybe we're approaching that mythical Capcom cross ArcSys title developed by Bandai Namco.
Oh, please, God, no. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would love to see that. I mean, obviously with Street Fighter, like you said, around the corner, that's where they're going to need to make sure that they stick on this stuff. They don't want. I wouldn't want this game to fall off because Street Fighter gets released. Let's be real here. The dedicated fans of Street Fighter are still going to buy Street Fighter 6.
Oh, for sure. I'm buying Street Fighter 6, and I hated Street Fighter 5.
I am still in the air. I think I'm Street Fighter 5 almost ruined the want Just support Street Fighter.
And I don't blame you at all. If you said you never want to buy another Street Fighter game after because of your experience with 5, I'd be like, bet, I got you. Totally understandable.
4 was so good. We had so much fun playing 4 when we were playing it at that con. It was so fun.
And it was vanilla 4 too. That's how fun it was.
Yeah, like it was so fun. I mean, I do hope that 6 does well, but you know, at the same time, like if they really want DNF Duel to continue on, listen to the fans, pay attention to the forums, look at the wish lists. Obviously, don't. I mean, there's going to be obviously wish lists that are going to be astronomically unrealistic, but you know, make it make sense. You guys did such a great job with what you did with Guilty Gear, so keep that momentum going. Meaning, I can 100% see this thing going far. You know, add some flair too. You know, like I said, like you know, maybe some character costumes and stuff like that, or
more colors.
More colors, yeah, more colors. There's a lot that you can do, and if you guys are gonna announce the characters, I mean, let's see what you got. You know, I think there's a lot. You guys have a lot to pull from. Funny enough, while we were sitting here talking, I actually looked up like all the archetypes now and all the different classes, and oh my god, there's so much more.
There's a lot. Maybe on another episode we can go over which ones we'd like to see.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I guess like when we revisit this, yeah, that'd be a fun talk.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
But I pretty much kind of tapped out what I have to say. I mean, my wish lists are going to be more aesthetic. Like, I mean, obviously it's more like adding aesthetics to it, but I like the game. I'm having fun with it. I just want to see them continue to evolve with it.
Same here. I feel that. But to conclude, I have a bit of a small rant about a big disappointment that I've had with this game.
Here we go.
It's not so much bad. It's just what my expectations were compared to what the reality is, and that is with the Enchantress. Now, I've said on 2 separate podcasts that I plan on maining the Enchantress, and that desire hasn't actually changed, but what I can say is that she's not the character that I thought she'd be. I thought she'd be a puppet character, you know what I mean? I thought she'd place the bear, and then you could do what puppet characters do. Use the bear to continue your combos or to keep putting on pressure. And to a small degree, that is what she can do. But the biggest utility, and I've tried, you know, I've done her combo trials. I've been watching like high level play. I'm just trying to find that like thing with her that like I was expecting, the trickiness with the bear, and there isn't any. I was expecting like displacements where you could sandwich them in between the bear and continue pressure, and sure, that happens sometimes, like randomly, like sparsely, but it's not her style. She's a zoner. She's like almost a hard zoner, and she has this command grab that everyone's like raving about. Oh, once you get this command grab off, the fight's over. It turns them into like a gremlin thing, and you can like knock them around and stuff. And yeah, it's a good pressure tool, but at the end of the day, when you look at her, she's just a hybrid of some zoning, some potent zoning, and then some potent rushdown. And at the end, it just came off as both unsatisfying to me. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of Enchantress people who like are happy that's how she turned out, but she's just like this hybrid of zoning and this rushdown that uses, instead of using like Mad the Bear as you know, attacks and stuff, they use it mostly just to cancel her attacks. Because like a special cancel, you just hit X and it stops whatever she was doing. That's like the main thing you do with it, as opposed to Mad attacking itself. And that's disappointing to me, because I wanted her to be a puppet character. And I was curious at first. I was like, I don't know. People keep calling her a puppet character, and I don't see it. Because when you look at other puppet characters, like when you look at Carl from Blaze Blue, and what's Nirvana. Nirvana is his puppet with the claws and whatnot. There's just certain different, like, that's a true puppet character. Not only is Nirvana an actual puppet, he can displace her from him, so you can have Nirvana sitting on the other end of the arena while Carl's somewhere else doing whatever Carl's doing. Nirvana's attacks has lows, she's got a command grab, she has anti-airs, all kinds of like piercing moves, things like that. And then when you look at Eddie, like Zato and Eddie's got lows, he's got moves that nullify attacks, he's got moves that extend combos and hit overhead. And Matt doesn't have any of that. And that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping Matt had some like puppet-like attacks. Because at first I was like, okay, it's a puppet character, and puppet characters take a long time to unlock. So everyone will think they're bad for a while, and then it turns out, oh, they're good. But I truly, just through my experience, don't think this is the case. I honestly think Enchantress is a weak character. She can do good things because that's just the nature of DNF, since everyone is cracked out, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone can kind of just do good shit. But her shit isn't... everyone's shit is gooder than hers.
Gooder.
Like she
like the word.
She doesn't... Like, she has a game plan, and that's just beat pressure. But that's not a game plan she's even the best at. You have Striker, who's way better at beat pressure. Hitman, who's better at beat pressure. Ghostblade, who's better at beat pressure. Dragon Knight, who's way better at beat pressure. Or she's like, okay, I'm going to zone you. I have this big purple ball. I got my little thorns. And I have my little guy that runs along the floor. It's like, sure, I could do that. But she doesn't outzone Ranger. She doesn't outzone Troubleshooter, who's not even a technical zoner. So I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in Enchantress because I don't like zoners, and it turns out she's more of a zoner than she is a puppet character. I actually don't even, me personally, I'm sure the higher like professionals, they thought of something different, but I actually don't count her as a puppet character because all of Mad's attacks hit like mid. Maybe her DP with Mad, where he does the 2 big claw swipes, or overhead, but I doubt it. It just does a lot of guard damage, and that's about it. And that's my rant. I don't like Enchantress. She's not what I thought she'd be, and I'm really disappointed about that.
Nah, man. I mean, it's a character that you were looking forward to, and I think that you have every right to be disappointed. I mean, obviously, like I'm sitting here, I'm literally looking through the other character classes as we were talking, just because I was like, man. Also, to correct something on myself, I didn't realize this because I didn't know if this was a thing back in the day, but Ghostblade is actually his own class. I thought he was part of the Ashura class that I used to play, and that's actually a separate class altogether. So I'm just correcting myself on that part.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, Ashura is a whole different class, so that's like, oh, that's interesting.
Ghostblade.
That's really cool, but yeah, no, I can understand that. I mean, I think for me, I don't really have any characters I'm disappointed with. That could change, obviously, because again, I'm when it comes to games like this, like when it comes to games I want to get excited about, I mean, I think that I'm just spoiled. Not spoiled, but like that's the wrong word. I'm more conditioned to seeing a game come out and not meet the expectations fully, and then like wait for them to fix it, and then it like, okay, cool, now it's good.
Okay.
So, I mean, I remember when I was one of the people that would overly hype about Cyberpunk, and that game was an absolute flop in every way possible.
Damn.
So, no, it's not a lie. Let's be real. Or Anthem, that was a game that I was overly excited about as well. Me and my buddy Kaiju Carl were always talking about it while we're at work, and that turned out to be a colossal flushed right down the toilet.
They said, and that was a lie.
It was 100% a lie. The games, the servers don't even exist anymore on that game. They shut the server. They shut the servers down, and GameStops are literally giving away the discs at this point because they're like, we don't want them.
That's so ugly. Well, you can't play without the servers, so what are you gonna do with it?
I don't know, maybe a collector's thing. Like, oh hey man, I have this this game that just failed hard.
Okay, so to wrap this up, I want to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, vanilla Vanilla DNF Duel. What would you rate it?
I'm gonna give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10. That sounds about fair. I personally would give it a 6. I would give this a 6 out of 10, and Lobo gives it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 sounds right. 6 feels right. Yes. 6 feels right. 6 definitely feels right to me. So, but I don't imagine that will go down over time as they add things, as they patch things. I'm sure it'll just go upper and upper and upper until eventually it's a very solid game. Because Guilty Gear felt unfinished as well when it first came out, and now it feels so solid and so clean. So I got faith in the game as long as, like you said, they take it seriously.
As long as the devs stay on top of it, make sure that they're doing what they need to do, I feel like this game, I could see this game rising up and doing a lot better. So just let's reconvene on this in what do you say, like a month, and we'll see how that goes.
Like a month, yeah. I think a month is good. So it'll be about a month and 2 weeks, and we'll see where this game is standing right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's nothing but up from here. So, Loboberry Crunch, do you have anything else about DNF you want to touch on before we wrap this thing up?
I want Blade Master. I want Blade Master as a character in this game. Do it. Just make it happen. I'm not gonna lie. Some of these characters are cool. So, but no, I'm pretty good. I'm tapped out.
Yeah, I'm pretty tapped out too. I'm surprised I actually had as much to say as I did, since it's been so early and there's so many takes, and I'm sure I'll think of something that I had an issue with or really liked after, as soon as we finish up recording like usual. But as of now, I think I'm tapped. I'm at a solid 6 out of 10 with the game.
Sounds good.
And so, if you are tapped out and I'm tapped out, that means bars closed and we getting out of here. And so, I would like to thank you for coming on today with me.
Always.
And I would also like to reintroduce the one, the only
Loboberry Crunch.
He's been Loboberry Crunch. I've been Mick Whoopi Goldberg, and this has been the Bottom of the Pit podcast, where we look to the moon and swap our palettes. And we will see you on the next one.
You got the DFO?
The answer lies in the heart of battle.